Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Ealing Road podcast, where on today's show we're going to be going over the 0-0 home draw against Chelsea. And because it was such an amazing game, for people watching on YouTube, you know that we've got a full house, and the fullest house I think we've ever had on the Ealing Road podcast. 5 out of 5. Callum's back, Miranda's back. We'll come to you two first. Callum, how are you?
I'm all good. How's everyone else doing?
All good. Miranda, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, all good.
Craig?
Not after that weekend.
That was a good introduction.
Living the dream, man. Living the dream.
How are you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, we can just enjoy the rest of the season now. So let's go.
Have you written it off? We'll talk about it, but have you written it off now? Is it fully done?
I've been very doubtful for many weeks now. I don't think we should put much pressure on these next games. I think it would take the kind of run that we've not been on for a while, and beating teams, the types of teams that we haven't beaten for a while. So, we'll see, but just enjoy it now, I think.
Nice optimistic start to the podcast, Dan, as ever. Just before we get going, remember to drop a comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels, follow us on the socials as well, at the Ealing Road on Twitter, at Ealing Road Pod on Instagram. Tweet of the week this week, a few entries. We'll start with the most topical one, some transfer news that has dropped in the last kind of hour or so. Sky in Germany have tweeted that Bayer Leverkusen are considering Mark Flecken as an option in the summer. The 31-year-old is currently one of 3 concrete options, nothing advanced yet, but Flecken is planning to take a bigger step in the summer. Leverkusen is a serious option for him, under contract at Brentford until 2027, price valuation of 15 million euros. Craig, I'll come to you as our goalkeeper union on the pod. What do you make of that?
Well, this is probably going to be Mark Flecken's biggest opportunity to win some silverware in his career, isn't it? If he takes a chance to go to Leverkusen and win either the DFB Pokal or the league, or, even to just play in Champions League football, it's going to be his best opportunity. And he's 31 years old. He's not getting any younger. If I was him, I'd stay because I wanted to be at Brentford. But, being the Premier League, I can see it happening if we can get the right replacement.
What do we think, to anyone, what do we think he's worth? I know that Florian Plettenberg, the guy that tweeted it, said the price valuation of 15 million euros. We signed him for 11 million pounds in 2023, I want to say, off the top of my head. What do we think Mark Flecken is worth? He's going to be 32 in the summer, to anyone.
About 25?
More than that. This is, I don't understand why he's only 15 million euros. That's like 12.5 million pounds. Like, it's... I personally think he's worth a lot more than that. He's got time left on his contract. For me, I wouldn't sell him for anything less than 25, 30 million. Aim high.
Raya.
So, yeah, 100%. 100%. He's better than Raya. So
Raya had contract issues, didn't he? We've got an extra year now with Flecken. So I would say about 25 maybe.
Flecken is also an established keeper who has also played practically every single game since he's joined us. I just think he's got to be worth more than 15 million euros, personally. But good signing for Leverkusen if it happens. I'm not surprised one bit that he's tempted by the move, but gives us a bit of a headache, really. Who do we look at? We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, we need someone if he goes. I don't think we've got a strong enough backup option at the moment. So, but yeah, definitely more than 15.
We'll need a goalkeeper that's as good with his feet as Mark Flecken is, because the way that we play, we can't have someone like Robert Sanchez playing for us because he was awful.
I know he was. Honestly, every time he got the ball on Sunday, you could tell that there was a directive from Frank to just put it on him every single time. And Flecken's distribution, on the other hand, I've actually seen some Chelsea fans and Newcastle fans from the last game as well saying that his distribution is so good. And I do think, I don't know, I don't want to adopt this recency bias, a lot of recency bias, but it has been probably up to the standard of David Raya. Obviously, he's not got the target man and Ivan Toney to aim for, but in terms of short to mid-range passing distance or passing range for Flecken, it has been very, very good this season. We'll move on to the next tweet. Miranda, I'll come to you on this one. This is from Ryan MBFC. He says, might be unpopular, but really not a fan of settling for a 0-0 at home in a game that we had to win to keep any chance of Europe alive, especially Fulham at the same time of beating Liverpool to get top 8. Frustrating because when we actually attacked, we looked the better side. Obviously, we're going to talk about the game anyway, but I have to admit, looking at the scores after the game on Sunday, having seen that Fulham had beaten Liverpool at home, it did make that result a little bit more just annoying. Because, like you said in the tweet, Miranda, I did think when we did attack, we did look pretty good at times.
Yeah, I mean, it came up during the game. They put the scores up, and it was obviously, I think was it 3-1 quite early on, wasn't it?
Yeah,
in that game. So that came up, and I just thought, okay, great, of course. You're obviously hoping, Liverpool might come back and win that anyway. So let's just forget Fulham for a minute. I mean, I know we're going to talk about the game in detail, but we haven't won a home game since December, and Spurs haven't won an away. Not Spurs. Sorry, they were against Spurs. Chelsea haven't won an away game since they played Spurs the day before that. So I think if you actually looked at it that way, maybe it was doomed to be a 0-0. And even though we started off really well, maybe it was doomed to doom. It was just going to be a draw or quite flat line, which it definitely felt at 90 minutes. So, yeah.
I think, after that,
I mean, at half time. Yeah, I mean, at half time, I know, even though we had those last chances, I do feel like at half time, I knew it would end 0-0. I didn't have any hope. But then that's just how it's felt at home, unfortunately. I don't know. Need a little bit more life about us.
Nah, 100%. I think the weird thing about it is that the home form and the away form is just completely flipped on its head. But on the topic of Fulham, Callum, there was another tweet from BFC Kev, which I'd like your thoughts on. He said, ever seen something more obvious than us losing our final home game to Fulham and them securing Europe at our ground? This team has no shame. Why are we playing for a draw in a must-win game? Callum, what do you make of that? Because you've always got a lot to say on WhatsApp.
That's very true. Well, first of all, I can see it happening, to be honest with you. I think if Fulham have got something to play for, then we haven't. I can see them coming to our place and causing us some problems and getting that European place, which could be as low as 8th, maybe 9th this year, depending on what happens in the FA Cup and so forth. Frustrating, Mike. Frustrating. You know, I don't think it was one of those 0-0s. I think it shouldn't have been a 0. I think you look at I looked at the stats after. I was quite surprised. Chelsea, they had 22 shots in the end to our 9 or 10. But we had the much more concrete chances. You know, you look at in the first half, some early chances early on. I look at that header from King Lewis Potter. I think that's the most clear-cut one in the first half. Personally, they were marking him. Pretty straightforward save for Sanchez. To be honest with you, in the build-up, I think we should have had a penalty. What's the point in pulling the players away? I think it was Tosin and Collins. I think it was the two, or whoever was holding Collins. It might have been James actually, but he warned them. He said, "Don't hold on to him. I'll give a pen." He's looking straight at it, bottled it. Absolutely bottled it. And Collins having a right good dig in afterwards because the play went on for ages after that. And he finally had a word with him about a minute or two later. No pen. But yeah, it was a bit of, as Miranda touched upon, it felt flat yesterday. For a London derby, it really felt flat. And it's frustrating because we still have every opportunity of getting into that top 8 positions, which could secure European football this season. And do the club really want it? I don't know. I really don't know. There's more money to stay in the Premier League, and with the extra games, we've seen what it's done to Tottenham. So from that performance, I would say a missed opportunity and no European football. But never mind.
The atmosphere, I know you say about being London derby, the atmosphere was, I want to say it was destined to not be fantastic. As soon as Chelsea won the toss and switched ends, whenever teams switch end against us and we're shooting towards the West End in the first half, the atmosphere is never fantastic. And that has always been the case, even when we was at Griffin Park and we didn't get to shoot towards the Ealing Road in the second half. It did dampen the atmosphere. And for what was a London derby, as you say, and an opportunity to get something, we haven't beaten Chelsea at home in the Premier League. So it was an opportunity to actually get a win against them at home. It just felt flat across the board. Across the board, it felt flat. And looking at the results, going back to Fulham winning in the week when we lost to Newcastle, we got a bit lucky with results going our way. But this weekend, feels like we had everything go against us. Obviously, Palace won, Fulham won, Villa won. Bournemouth didn't lose. They was on a bit of a streak when they didn't lose. We seem to have every result sort of not fall our way. But maybe this year was never meant to be. We got to look forward. We know that at the moment we don't have the squad depth to be able to even push for it. And we'll have the same conversation again next season when we put a weakened side out for a cup game, get knocked out against Burton, and then we'll say we should have done that run and then miss out just on Europe by a point or 2 points next season as well. But
we need to change our approach? That's the thing. Like, you look at Fulham and you say the caliber of players they're bringing in, and it's like, I would love to sign some of the players that they have. I've always been a big admirer of Emile Smith-Rowe, for example. Willian was a bit of an interesting one. I probably wouldn't have had him back. But, you're looking at although they're charging, some controversial ticket prices for their fans, they are signing some incredible talent, and, they are spending big wages, but they are also getting the results from it as well. So do we need to change our approach? Possibly. I don't know. But maybe it's time.
Isn't it?
Well,
maybe this summer we may well see some advances with Benham, for example. I mean, I think he's a fan. He was there again yesterday. He's always attending fixtures. Is it time this summer where Benham kind of says, okay, well, let's sell this stake in the club and let's see next season as a season. I think is it fifth or sixth? I think it's sixth next season, isn't it? The Premier League. Was it fifth?
Fifth.
I can't keep up. We've been there that long now that it's just natural, isn't it? But I just think it could be time. It could be time for Benham to sell his stake and see what happens next season.
He will always be a majority owner. Benham will in the football club. I can see that being the case for a long, long time. But there's obviously been lots of talks and reports and rumours, and we was even speaking about it after the Newcastle game, wasn't we? That there's potential for investment to come in, but he will always be a majority owner. But without an injection of massive cash flow, when we're never going to be able to compete in that aspect or that side of the game, bringing in these high-profile players, which, as Brentford fans, we know we're comfortable with. That's where we are. And if it happens, fantastic. If not, then we just kind of I don't want to fall into the Crystal Palace or Everton, where they're just having drab seasons, staying up, not really pushing for anything. I know I said it on Thursday. If they have a cup run and get to a semi-final and go to Wembley, great. But we need a cash injection, don't we? Some proper cash flow to bring in some extra players and be able to just make that final push. And as Dan keeps rightly saying, playing the right way against teams in and around us. Like, have we beaten anyone yet in and around us that hasn't had an off day in Newcastle at home and Bournemouth away?
No. I think we went toe-to-toe with Chelsea. I don't think we set out to not win the game. I think Chelsea's lineup surprised me, and I think they got stronger as the game went on, with the likes of Palmer coming off the bench. So I think that's why it may have looked like we may have accepted to draw it towards the end. I think they got stronger and we simply don't have those options on the bench. And when your front three or four are all a bit off form, the quality in the final third just wasn't quite there. And on another day, we take one or two of those chances and potentially we do win the game. But that's a difference. But at least we went toe-to-toe with Chelsea. We didn't sit back in a low block. I thought we did press them quite high, and it was different to how we normally play against some of the big six sides. I think just on another day, just that little bit more quality, that extra 10 or 20%, and then we could start turning these games into wins.
That was by far one of the worst Chelsea teams I've ever seen. Yeah. Just saying. It was true. Put that as a thumbnail as well. If I was a Chelsea fan watching that, and after spending, and I don't care that Palmer didn't start and Neto didn't start because they completely changed the game, but they were dreadful. I mean, I don't know what either the players didn't know what they wanted to play, or they just sat out to win 1-0. They looked. Chelsea Football Club should be one of the best teams in the league, but they were scared of playing Brentford Football Club. Like, what can I say?
Love it when people add the football club at the end to make it a little bit like anything they say after that. If you add the football club, Brentford Football Club or Chelsea Football Club, it makes it better.
The thing that got us was the bench, and Dan, you just said it, like not having the firepower really to come off the bench. We had 8 subs, I think, on Saturday. 5 of those subs was the goalkeeper and 4 defenders. So we either need to take a risk and dip into the B team and bring players through like Donovan and Ewan Morgan, who's been on the bench plenty of times recently, and trust that these players can actually go out there and do something. If not, it's a bit of a wasted space on the bench if they're not going to just use them anyway. So we've been plagued. I know it's going to sound ironic again, but we've been plagued with injuries this season with our offensive players, looking at Igor Thiago and Gustavo Nunez, just to name 2. But that's where we need a big summer. That's where we need a big cash injection to be able to go out and get 2 or 3 more squad players that can change a game when they come on.
Well, that was the difference, isn't it? On Sunday, they're bringing on Pedro Neto, Cole Palmer, and Nicholas Jackson. We're bringing on a defensive midfielder in Vitaly Jensen, who's spent half the season sick or injured, and a right back. And we're both going for the win. It's like, I know it's difficult to compare with Chelsea because they've spent billions, but it is. We speak about it week on week. The lack of attacking depth on the bench does, and it has killed us at a lot of points this season. But it's such a valid point as well that you mentioned about the B team as well. I've seen so many people talking about Thomas Frank, and we've spoken about it on this pod before in terms of his game management and trying to win games or overturning deficits or holding on to leads. He doesn't tend to give like these B team players a chance. And I know that there has been a couple of journalists like praising Morgan, who's been on the bench a few times, Donovan, who's been like getting some insane highlight reels when he's been playing for the academy. Why don't we use these players when we need a win? Or bringing Vitaly out on 60 minutes, or Michael Coyote on 83, or Matthias Jensen on 83. It's not really going to turn. It's not going to turn the needle. Do you know what I mean? It's
You're going to have an attacking player on the bench at the weekend, though, because Schade is going to be dropped after that. I'll tell you.
Let's get into this, because like the original running order, by the way, we're going to like run through some of the chances, but because it was so fucking boring, we may as well just talk about Brentford in general. So should we just get straight into Kevin Schade? Because I feel like he's the one that's kind of garnered the most heat from that performance. And I mentioned it, I think, just before half time. It's so frustrating when he's got space to run into and he just doesn't do it. He just never uses it. I just don't understand it at all.
What is it? Belief? I don't know what he does. He had a run in the first half very early on, caused some problems. Then in the second, he did a bit of brilliance where he turned his man in the corner and, he whacked it at 100 miles per hour across. I don't know what he was doing, shooting or whatever. I don't have a clue what he was doing. Trying to take Whistler's head off, I think. But I just need someone to get in his ear, and just say, just run, just run at him. I don't. And we saw it at Bournemouth the other week. He didn't take anyone on hardly, but the one time he did, that quick turn of pace, he got round the player and caused a fantastic opportunity. And I just don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. I was thinking he might kick on when he had that little goal period. I think he scored 5 goals in 3 games or something very good like that. And then he just went off again. And I don't know what's wrong with him. But now we got Henry back. Lewis Potter put him into Schade's position and put Rico Henry at left back, and then we'll have an option to come off the bench. So
he had a bad game this weekend, but I think he gets a lot more heat when he plays badly than when either Brian or Whistler plays badly. And I understand they've got more credit in the bank, they score more goals for the club, but I think prior to this weekend, I think in the 3 or 4 games before that, Schade has probably been the best of the 3. Not that any of them have been outstanding at all, which is why we are struggling in these types of games at the moment to get over the line. But I do think it is a little bit harsh that he gets a lot more heat than, say, if Brian has an off day. I think there is a big difference there.
Well, it's kind of like scapegoat material, isn't it? We've had these players at Brentford. Well, I think every club must have them. When someone has a bad day, when the whole team has a bad day, there's one person that gets targeted. But it's like what you said, Callum. Like I don't know what it is with Schade, because is it something from Frank? Is it something about not giving the ball away? Because when we signed Schade, the few times that we saw him in the season that we signed him when he came on as a sub, he would do exactly what we want him to do, in that he'd use his pace and he'd beat his man. I remember that goal against Fulham when he absolutely skins Anthony Robertson, who this season has been one of the best fullbacks in the league, one of the quickest fullbacks in the league, and just leaves him for dead. And he had Malo Gusto. You could see like the trepidation in Malo Gusto whenever there was a bit of space for him to run into. He was begging for him to just run it. Miranda, like what's going on with Schade? Tell me, please.
I mean, two thoughts popping into my head whilst we were talking about that. I mean, is it that when I see Brian and Wissa, they're much more creative for each other? Like they are able to bounce off each other. Like using the examples from the weekend. Like I know that obviously the most clear-cut chance would have been Damsgaard at the beginning, but then not forgetting, Wissa hitting the side netting. I know they're obviously not on target. And then when Mbeumo getting very close, managing to get it on his left foot, like that all comes from play together. And that also comes from KLP. I thought he was excellent at the weekend. My only criticism of Schade would be that I felt like KLP was finding that space and he wasn't coming to him. He wasn't giving him anything to work with in those moments. And I don't know, like, where was he? What, yes, he's got his pace and he probably knows where he wants to position himself at times, but I just don't think he was supporting KLP as much as he could have been. Whether that would have led to any chances, I'm not too sure. But I definitely think he was frustrated with himself, as shown by the end of the game. Full-time whistle. He didn't come, like, I'm not trying to take criticism, give him more criticism or heat, but, you don't help yourself when you're sort of appearing to storm off the pitch. That kind of tells it all, in my opinion.
Craig?
You heard my reaction, didn't you, Miranda? I wasn't very happy with that.
As soon as the final whistle's gone, you're going, I'll drive you to Heathrow. Go to Dortmund. That's so generous of you, Callum, to drive him 10 minutes down the road. Really out of your way, mate. Really out of your way.
I fully would. I would say, do you know what, mate? Feel free.
What it is for me with Kevin Schade is, when you look at the team and you look at players that build relationships in and amongst the team with other players, I look at Johan Wissa, Brian Mbeumo, and the relationship that they have. You could go from front to back. Whenever there's something that happens defensively, you can see the back four and the goalkeeper are often celebrating, encouraging each other together. Keane and Nathan Collins, obviously they've got a very, very good relationship. We see things that they post on social media about each other all the time, commenting on things and stuff like that. Then you've got Chris Iyer and Mark Vlekken, as well as Van der Berg and Collins. You go to midfield, you look at the relationship that Norgard and Janelt have, Norgard and Damsgaard have. And then, as I say, you work up, you've got Brian Wiss. When I'm watching Schade play, I feel like he has no click with any one player in the team, and he's kind of like, it feels like he's sort of alienated himself in amongst the team in a way in which I can't quite put my finger on. But he has no, like, when I look at Brian, I think of Brian and Wissa. Or when I look at Keane Lewis Potter, I think of him and Nathan Collins. I don't think of Kevin Schade as a partnership with another player on the pitch. I think of him as a lone wolf type player. And it shows that, like, using Miranda's example, where he walks off the pitch by himself, doesn't seem to do anything. Yeah, Brian walked ahead of everybody, but he walked around the whole pitch still and applauded the fans. But there seems to be no one other player that I could think of, like, when I name a player to someone, they could name me a player that maybe they've got a bit of a relationship with, like the ones I've mentioned. But for Schade, I don't know why I can't put my finger on that with him.
Does he have time to make these relationships, Dan? Or we're not writing him off, are we? Because we've said it so many times on the pod. He's got everything to be the next big thing for Brentford. Is it a case of, when or if Brian Mbeumo / Johan Wissa maybe leave in the summer, that he can be not the main guy, but he can shoulder a little bit more responsibility in the team?
He'll need to step up. He'll need to be responsible. At the moment, he's very hot and cold, which you can't rely on game to game, and we need consistency as a team. So he needs to be consistent as a player. I think there is a good culture at Brentford. I imagine he's got a good relationship with someone like Vitali, given they're both German. They've obviously Schade has played for the national team. Vitali, hasn't. So he's got talent. We've never doubted that. He's got everything you need to become really, really good, but he is a very frustrating player. And we had been saying as recently as last week that he was getting a little bit more consistent, but this was definitely his worst game in a while. But we can't give up on him. I think he's still a young player. In a couple of years' time, we could be sitting here, I think, still, and he could be, one of our best players, if not a best player or a top player around Europe for another team. So I think we've got to believe in him. The likelihood is that at least one of Wissa and Brian will go in the summer. So we do need him to step up, particularly if Thiago or Nunes have more injury problems.
But when?
When, yeah.
Just before we wrap up on Chelsea, there was a comment on our last pod about Brian when we kind of asked the question about what's going on with him, his form, the dip since the turn of the year. And someone did suggest something that I completely agreed with, and something that he's not had since Mads Versenev left, is that overlapping run down the right-hand side. And it makes it so much more easy for the opposition defender to telegraph exactly what he's going to do. But when you think about the way Thomas Frank wants his fullbacks to play, and obviously that might change when KLP starts to play a bit higher up the pitch. But at the moment, it's KLP that's providing the width down the right, and then Aya kind of just stays put. But is there any weight in that? I do feel like, for all that we've criticised Mads on the pod, he did run just relentlessly. He would he'd never shirk an overlap because he was tired. He'd always get on his bike. And that is something that Brian's missed, I think.
Yeah, I think I made that point with Coyote in the last episode, just that him starting, I'd like to see him start anyway, but I think him being a more natural right back, getting on the overlap, may open up some space for Brian, because we all know where Brian wants to go. Chelsea are going to try and show him down the outside because he always wants to cut inside. If you've got another option to think about, someone like Coyote overlapping, I think, that can give them something else to think about. And like I said, I think Aya earlier in the season, before his injury, I thought he was getting up and down that right-hand side a bit more, but I haven't seen that so much recently. So I definitely think that probably is a factor. And I think you want that. I think you want another attacking threat on that side, so we're not maybe so predictable, because I think Brian and Mbumo's attacking style perhaps is quite predictable. He wants to cut in, and then he'll either put a shot towards the near post or try and cut one around the far post. So I think we do need to try something else down that side, and I think that could really help him.
Well, in my opinion, I think Miranda's already kind of said it as to what the obvious option would be when she's talking about Keane. Keane is the one that is doing the overlapping runs, and he was the one that was supporting Kevin Schade. For me, the easy option at the moment would be to just put Brian out on the right, out on the left, put Schade out on the right. Yes, okay, it takes away from the option of him cutting in and using that left foot, but it also brings in the support from Keane Lewis Potter. It puts Schade out as well, where he is not having so many overlapping runs, so he has to run at defenders because he's not getting that defensive support from an overlapping defender. And then Keane can just can get around. We know what he's capable of. Like Miranda said earlier on, he's the one that's doing the supporting runs. Put Brian out on that side, give him the helping hand of Keane, and let Schade do the running at people. And then it gives Brian an opportunity to be a bit creative again, which is what he's kind of been missing a little bit recently.
Or switch KLP to right back. I think we did that earlier this season, didn't we? For a moment, when Rico Henry came on at left back, and I'm sure KLP got an assist in that 5-10 minute period. It might have been against City when we got the late goal. So I think definitely maybe try that, especially when Rico Henry's back and maybe fit enough to play more.
Well, one more option. We could, Callum, put Rico Henry at right back, can we?
Mike, listen, you just read my mind in that one, but I was waiting for Dan to finish. So, yeah, well, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. I actually miss Mads Roslev. I think he actually, I don't understand the reasoning of his loan, whether it was a bit confidence boost or something like that. I personally think he especially the way he played in his last few games. You know, he played very well at Crystal Palace, and I thought, why on such a, you know, on the way he played a hype, why did we get rid of him the day, you know, less than 24 hours after? It didn't really make much sense. So whether we see him back at Brentford next season or not, I don't know. I mean, it would be nice to see. I think it would be nice to have him back, because I don't think Coyote is going to stay, if I'm being honest with you. I think that's been a bit of a waste of time, personally. I know he's been injured, but if I came in as a football player and was told, oh, I'm going to play 2 minutes on my debut, I'm going to come on for 2 minutes and chuck a ball into a box with a long throw, I could get a job doing that. But I mean, it's like that's the longest he played on Saturday, Sunday. It's 10 minutes, wasn't it? 10 minutes,
mate. We saw your halftime challenge, mate. I don't think you'd get the job.
Yeah, I let the old guy win. Look.
Rosslev's only played 5 times, by the way, since joining Wolfsburg.
Oh dear! I was going to say I don't really watch the Bundesliga, so that's not good.
Anything else on Chelsea before we move on to Arsenal?
Chelsea are an absolute mess. Honestly, I actually think they won't win. I don't think they'll win the Conference League. I really think I think Fiorentina could do a job on them. If I think they're playing Legia Warsaw on Thursday, I think they go through. If they beat them, Fiorentina, I think they play them in the semis. I just think that Chelsea just look a shadow of themselves at the moment. I don't know what's going on with Chelsea at the moment, but Maresca's not the right man for the job. We found this out at Leicester where they scraped over the line. You know, I think he's a loose cannon, and he just doesn't offer much for Chelsea. So yeah, that's my position on Chelsea at the moment. I haven't misbeaten them this season, though. I must admit, I enjoyed our annual, 4 points over them. Now they've got 4 points over us, but you got to let them beat us at some point, and But hey ho, we'll be back next season.
One chance I do think we should mention is that Vandenberg chance.
Yeah,
where
I don't know how he's not scored there.
Yeah, I mean, I was stood right next to Miranda, and she's just in front. And from where we was, I thought, this is just going to nestle in the roof of the net. But somehow, straight into the floor. He's obviously stooping for it, and it's just headed it straight into the floor. And it's flown out. All he's got to do is run into it. He doesn't even have to try and head it. He just has to run into the ball, and the ball is going to end up in the back of the net, and somehow it's gone over. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's happened. It
was one where I couldn't actually judge because we were kicking the wrong way, which, like we mentioned at the top of the show, is just like the bane of football. I hate it. I cannot fucking say how much I hate when we get turned around at the Gtech. But you can't really judge. You can't really judge those chances. I saw it back on Match of the Day, and you're so right. Just knee it, run at it with your midriff, go. Just hit the ball, and the ball will go in the net. But yeah, no.
I wonder if the Sun had something to play with it as well, because I
hope not. It was bloody behind
but I'm just saying. Not for the missed chance. I'm just saying as to why Chelsea changed ends. Like, not the bloody not Vandenberg. No, I don't know what he was looking at. He may have seen a good-looking girl in the stands or something like that. Who knows? But no, yeah, he should have put that away. But by that point, I think half the ground was fast asleep anyway. So it was. But Palmer at the end, I thought that was in the back of the net. I mean, flipping heck, if that went in, I would have been so pissed off. But
that was very close. We're mathematically safe now, everyone. That's good.
Oh, brilliant!
Up the beat.
The only silver lining, and the fact that we got our first clean sheet at home in April. On Sunday, which was another silver lining.
Been enough
goals. Second point against the Big Six team.
Second point against Big Six team as well. Yeah, that's very true. Well, we're coming up against another Big Six team next. Obviously, we spoke before we started recording about it potentially could be Brentford's first win at the Emirates, considering they've got a tie against Real Madrid at either side of the game against us. They rested a lot of players for their game against Everton. How is everyone feeling about that game? 5:30 kickoff at the Emirates on Saturday against Arsenal. They'll play Real Madrid at the Bernabeu the following week. So what do we think? Is that a chance to maybe? No,
we are going to beat them. We are going to beat them.
Oh.
Honestly, I was in Liverpool with work on Saturday, and I was like, I saw that TY, and I was thinking to myself, I cannot wait to do lot on Saturday. Honestly, we're going to beat them. We're going to beat them hands down. We're going to beat Arsenal. And do you know what? I will be so smug when I leave that ground. There's something about Arsenal's fan base I'm not a fan of. But we've got this in the bag. We're going to go there. We're going to turn them over, and we're going to leave very happy. So
it's our best chance. I think it's our best chance of getting something against them, considering it looks like they've basically conceded the title, even though obviously Liverpool slipped up the other day. They still need about 11 points from 7 games. That's going to be sewn up. I think, particularly if the game against Real Madrid on Tuesday night is close, then I think they will want to completely prioritise that. And if we face a lineup similar to what Everton faced the other day, then I think we've got every chance. Gabriel will at least be missing, and I think if you break up that centre back partnership, then they're not quite the same team anyway. So it's the best chance we're going to have. I think it's the perfect set of circumstances for us to go into that one. We've got nothing to lose ourselves as well. So if we're going to do it, then maybe this is the time.
Craig, Miranda, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say that they're both on our part and their part. Nothing to play for in the league. They will be rotating their squad. They have got quite a few injuries added on from Gabriel. Yeah, I mean, I would love to beat them for my own personal reasons.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to see your other half when we beat them.
It's a fixture every year, and he will never, like, his words today were, well, you haven't beat us since your first Prem game. So I just need that smug. I need it, especially because I'm not going to the game myself, but I will be sat watching it with his family. So yeah, it's important.
Listen,
for me.
We'll get on FaceTime Live when we win. We get the 3 points. We can do a live episode from the Emirates. Get him on.
We want a video, Callum, now. We want a video of your instant match reaction now, no matter what the result is, please.
I'll tell you what, hands down, I'll put that in place. If actually anyone's actually going in this group, because is anyone actually even going, or is it just me?
I've got my ticket, but I don't know if I'm going yet.
Oh goodness, no! This doesn't sound positive. Craig, Dan, give me some good news here, please.
I'm going away on Saturday, unfortunately. Oh. I would have been there otherwise.
I'm going to a birthday party. Obviously, the 5:30 kickoff has killed us, man.
Yeah, not dreadful.
Right, it's all on me. TV appearance in the bag as well. So there you go. Let's make it happen.
Well, that's inevitable anyway, isn't it?
But it's all overdue. It's been quiet this year. I tell you, I had someone say that to me the other week. I've not been on TV, so there's plenty of time for that. Plenty of time.
Right then, I think that'd be a good point to round up the podcast. The Eden Road podcast will actually be back this week for an Arsenal preview with the Arsenal Vision podcast, which is something I'm really excited about because they are a rare breed of Arsenal fan, I would say, compared to the other kind of fan outlets. Very sensible. I don't know, people would have seen Clive on the overlap and stuff. Great talker. So that's going to be dropping this week. Thanks to Miranda for the link up on that one. And just before we go, remember to drop a comment down below with your thoughts at the Chelsea 0-0 draw. Who impressed? Who didn't impress? What's your thoughts on Kevin Schade? I know this has been a slightly different episode. We've not really spoken about the game, more just about Brentford's season and some players in general. But let us know in the comment section down below. And as always, we'll try to reply to as many as we can. Subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels. Follow us on the socials at the Ealing Road on Instagram. At the Ealing Road. Sorry, let me do that a third time. At the Ealing Road.
Take 3.
At the Ealing Road on X or Twitter, and at Ealing Road Pod on Instagram. Fucking hell. Right, there we go. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure, as always.
Up the bees.
Up the bees.